Did you know that you can be tall and actually have short legs, or short and actually have long legs? That's because your leg length isn't based on your height. It's in proportion to the rest of your body. And so even though I'm 5'5", I have long legs, which means my torso is shorter. And there are all kinds of fun and exciting challenges that come along with it. And so these are my 7 things to avoid if you have long legs. This video was inspired by Dearly Bethany. She did a video for short legs. Her style is gorgeous. You should go watch her. If you have short legs, I will link her video down below in the description box so you can check it out. Since I have long legs, I felt like I could help out my similar long-legged friends even though I'm not tall. Already rolling up the sleeves. But my first tip is to avoid dark jeans with dark boots. It could be ankle boots, it could be calf boots, it could be knee-high boots. But essentially this point of advice really helps lengthen your legs. But if you already have long legs, it really lengthens them and really out of proportion with the rest of your body. With that darker color, it's really weighing your bottom half down. But if you pair that and any type of mid or high-rise pant, then it suddenly just becomes almost your entire body is really dark. And you really have to balance it out with something dark and tall on top to make those proportions work. Now that doesn't mean you can't, and of course you can always wear whatever you want to wear and what makes you happy. But if you'd like to make a couple of adjustments to make this work for your long legs, I recommend 1, having a little bit of your ankle showing. A peep of ankle at the bottom is just a great way to break up the legs and the feet, but then also pairing the rest of your outfit in that same dark color. So then it all blends together and makes you look like one tall person. Now, this is by no means me saying that I have never made any of these mistakes, because trust me, this is a list built off of trial and error. But my next tip is to avoid super short shorts. Now, I feel like super short shorts are always on trend in some form or another, and they work really well if you have long legs, because if you want to pull off the trend, you actually pull it off really well. But in my experience, it really emphasizes how long my legs are, and it kind of cuts you off at the widest part of your thigh. So if that's an area that you aren't a fan of, if you're like me, just speaking from my own experience, it's not always my favorite length of short. I will say a trick for making it work is to match, again, your shorts with your top. That kind of creates a longer torso, which is usually how we're trying to balance out our longer legs. Because we're longer and our legs are coming up higher, we're trying to make up for it up here, and oftentimes we don't have that room. But if your top is matching your bottoms, then you can make it all look like it's one piece. But just for me in general, I find the super short length, I think I got that right, just doesn't proportionally work for my legs and the rest of my outfit, and I spend my entire time feeling a little bit self-conscious and imbalanced. The next thing I tend to avoid are super voluminous bottoms. You see this a lot, especially now that we're seeing more wide leg jeans and billowy pants. It's just a very common thing that we're seeing now, and it's something I tend to avoid just because that volume creates emphasis, and it's going to make whatever that volume is surrounding appear bigger. And since my legs are so long and compared to the rest of my body, it just makes them look that much longer and that much imbalanced. Now, voluminous pants can work great if you can make up and balance out that volume in other places. My problem is I don't have much room up here. So unless I'm wearing super puffy sleeves that come up to my ears, or if I'm wearing a large hat, there's not a lot of place or space for me to make up that volume to balance out my entire look. And I'm gonna lump paper bag waists in here with this too, just because I don't know where else to put it and I didn't wanna make this list too long. But again, you're creating that volume up here at your waist that's really, really high, and you're not giving yourself enough room to make it up in other places. So while we're here, let's talk about the rise that is perfect if you have long legs. And the thing is, and I've talked about it because I'm literally blue in the face, and I'm so sorry if you're already a subscriber because you have heard me say this so many times, but I have new people coming every day and they haven't heard this. But I do not believe in classifying rises. I believe in measuring your rise and knowing what your rise is. I have seen so many things labeled mid-rise or high-rise that their measurements are the same, but they are labeled very differently. So in my opinion, low rise works best if you have long legs, just because you want that little bit of extra room here at your belly or your lower belly to balance out your look. But I also understand a lot of us don't like high rise, kind of me included, because it doesn't offer any support of that lower belly. So just measure your rise, but understand that as rises now are starting to get lower with the trends, it's going to cater to our body types more, which is really really good news. But again, I don't think that rises should be trends. I think they should just be like inseams, and it's just something you measure, something you buy, just another size. Because I do also understand that high rise works really well on other certain body types. But in me, I'm just swimming in them. The other thing I tend to avoid with my legs is having a lot of distraction on the bottom. I earlier talked about volume, and that's one piece. It's more of a structural piece, but I also avoid overly distressed bottoms, overly printed bottoms, super colorful bottoms. For me, I'm looking to balance out my long legs. And so the best way to do that is to create emphasis and distraction other places and kind of tone down my legs. So I tend to gear more towards solids and clean lines and just really simple looks for my bottoms, and tend to keep the interest up top around my shoes. But that doesn't mean you have to be boring. Some distraction can be okay and actually do a good job of breaking up your leg to keep it from looking like one long color block just down your legs. So some distressing is okay. Some small prints or embroidery or just some details are perfectly fine. It's when it becomes too loud, too overwhelming, that for me, it just starts to take over my outfit and I can't make it up in other places. This next thing is actually one I more recently figured out was what was missing from my dresses and skirts that I was picking. Because I, for a while, loved maxi dresses, but then sort of would look at them and think, I just don't feel balanced wearing this dress. And it was because they didn't have a slit. Now, I love it if it can have a slit on both sides, but at least one slit is good. The problem with slits is I can often be too short and the slit comes too low on me, and then you have to go get it tailored and all of that, which is okay. It's just another thing to do. And lately it's been why I've been loving midi dresses, because I can kind of get away with the length without having to get it tailored. But when you don't have a slit, you just have one big heavy fabric covering the longest part of you. Now, depending on that color, that can look light and airy, or it can look dark and heavy. And if you're like me and you kind of tend to buy a lot of black dresses tend to look long and heavy. So you can find them with slits or find them in really light, airy colors or light, airy outfits. But I do think slits tend to work best because you get to show off your legs. It actually works in your favor. And in general, having your leg peek out and having that little bit of skin flash lightens up the look, and it lightens up the whole outfit and makes your legs an asset rather than something that's going to be covered up. Now, this is one I talk about a lot, but I have to talk about it here because there is no better place for it than this video. But one thing I avoid with my long legs are pants that go past my ankle, that they end below my ankle, which either goes into my shoes or goes straight into my foot. I love to have my ankle showing. What that does is it makes my ankle look like it's part of my foot rather than part of my leg. And I cannot tell you how good that looks for balancing out my outfit. Now, what that does, and it's kind of just like the slit I was just talking about in a skirt or a dress, but that strip of skin at your ankle is going to cut off your legs, make your legs and your feet two separate things instead of putting them all together in one, like in the first tip that I shared. Now, chances are if you have proportionally longer legs, then you have a shorter torso. And I have a similar video with very little overlap. There were just 2 points that overlapped in my short torso, things to avoid here. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye.